Can you guess what this is? Check this one out. It's a rock. Isn't that crazy? Look at it. Isn't that weird looking? When I was you guys' age, I found that behind my school in Ohio, far away. Can you guess what it is? You know what I guessed. What's your guess? It's from Ohio. Honeycomb. There was a fossil honeycomb. That's a bone. That's a fossilized piece of bone. No, I take that back. Fossilized wood, petrified wood. Like a mountain. Oh, I like that. Yeah, cool. Looks good on Dad's. Yeah, scope them out. See, look at them now after worship. Let's poke at them some more. Isn't that cool? That's the kind of stuff that's on the inside of caves. It kind of does. Didn't think that thought. I love it. Let's pass this. Can you pass this around to the folks? Let them all touch it. This is crazy. This one here is crazy. That's a piece of coral, fossilized coral from the bottom of the ocean. Where did I find it? You ever been to Las Vegas? There's a mountain behind Las Vegas. The mountain, the very top, Mount Charleston. How did it get there? We get to think about that. Took a long time to get there. Many, many tens of millions of years. Anyway, scope them all out after worship. Let's scope out the rocks. But meanwhile, have a look at this one. It's really mysterious. Yeah, that's a geode, and that's from Mexico. I found that. Oh yeah? Full of holes. Okay, have a look after worship. Oh, and by the way, what I gave you I gave you some mandalas to color because in a few weeks we're going to make mandalas out of sand. And mandalas are all over the world's religions. Christians have them, Muslim, Hindus, Buddhists have mandalas. Playing with those shortly. But meanwhile, you can color them. In the Psalms, as in the book of Job, there's lots of reference to nature, to the beauty of the world. Psalm 121, I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where will my help come? Beautiful passage, yes? Just inviting us to lift up our eyes to the hills. Every so often I one of the Psalms and write a poem riffing off the Psalm in the Bible. So here's the one I wrote for Psalm 121. And I adapted it for our. I lift up my eyes, mountain, looming over the valley, a gold and green, spreading its folds down to its urban skirts. I lift up my eyes to Tamalpais, a sharp jet of rock wrapped in chaparral, wreathed in fog in the summer sun. I lift up my eyes to Pedernal, black mesa lifted high above Pinon Forest and Red Rock Desert, holding up the grand sky of New, underlining the ever-changing moods of color and shadow. I lift up my eyes to Whitney, a dark wall on the east side of the Sierra, granite teeth at its peak, catching the setting sun that casts effulgence over the shadows. I lift up my eyes to the minarets, the cathedral ridge of Mount Banner and Mount Ritter, spires and organ pipes in silhouette against a sky. I lift up my eyes to the hills and see that there is something, someone, infinitely more mysterious forcing them up from the plains. And I remember that this same someone creates and keeps me and thrills me with this urge to lift up my eyes to the hills. So, what is the first step towards saving the earth from human-caused climate change, from the destruction of habitats and species, general depredation of the environment going on now? And I think the answer is love. Yes. And what is love? It is deep appreciation. Attention is love, and love is God. So the work of preserving the planet starts with spiritual work, religious work, our work, yes? We save, we protect what we love. So let us cultivate deep love for the earth in our hearts, a love that's already there because the earth put it into us before we were born. Loving nature is natural because the forms of nature are already in us, imprinted into us, in our bodies and our minds and our souls. When we see something beautiful in nature, we appreciate it because that beauty is already imprinted and fixed within us. When it's mirrored by what we encounter in nature, we react with profound emotion, appreciation, fascination. My grandson Jake is absolutely entranced by water. He could stare at a creek running behind our house. He could be out there for hours just staring at it. Any kind of water, a puddle, and it didn't make any difference. He's fascinated because he is encountering something that's already in him. What's the percentage of us that's water? 75%? We come out of water when we're born. It's an archetype. It's a structure built into our psyches. Physical connection. So we dream about water, right? How many of you had a dream that had something to do with water? I certainly have. It's just there. It's deep. So when we have that mirrored in encountering the ocean or a stream or a lake, we connect. Right now, with the super bloom of flowers happening in California, we're boggled. And we're boggled because those flowers were etched into us all, and now they're mirrored back to us in the environment around us. It's spectacular. We are flowers. Our genitalia are flowers, basically. They're built into us. We're built into them. So when we see them, our consciousness fully blooms with them, with awe and wonder. But of course, we have absorbed, since our birth, some toxic ways of seeing things, toxic ways of thinking about the world around us that lead us to poison the earth. I think one of the most toxic ideas is this weird one called the idea of private property. Now, for obvious practical purposes, we have to keep track of real estate and who gets to be on it and how. That's a practical matter. But if we could separate the practicality of that from the concept of owning land, that might be a healthy thing for us. You think about it, the earth right now is making a mockery of our concept of private property. We've been following the story of Pacific Palisades, what's going on there? There's a whole section of Pacific Palisades that's sliding away toward the ocean. It's a slip situation where the earth there's a layer of earth and then a muddy, watery layer under it, hitting that top level crumple toward the ocean. People's houses are moving into their neighbor's property. It's crazy. It's just making a mockery of the whole concept of private property or land ownership. And then, of course, with all the storms we have houses falling into rivers. We have cliffs collapsing and houses falling in. So yes, private property, of course, system for that. But the idea of it, nature makes a mockery of it. Next door to us in Ojai, an entire acre of orchard was swept away by the rains. You can now pick tangerines at the beach in Ventura. There's 70 tangerine trees wound up in the ocean. So the cure for these toxic ways that we think about nature and the world is to fall in love with. You might say Earth Day is St. Valentine's Day for the planet. Yes? Time to pay attention with the attention that is love, divine love. Smell the flowers, deeply admire the rocks and trees, ponder the processes of nature with holy wonder. It's good to pick up trash on Earth Day, of course. But just as important, if not more important, to fall in love with the earth again on Earth Day, so that we'll be motivated to protect it for the other 364 days of the year. So I found this fossil when I was Zelda and Lennox's age, actually, behind the school where I was going in my little hometown in Ohio. And I was just enthralled to discover this little fossil. I was so excited. And I was sure it was a fossilized miniature beehive, certain of it. Certain of this. Until I met somebody in town who knew a thing or two and said, no. It was the head of a crinoid coral. So it's got a stem that's rooted in the bottom of the ocean and then has these tendrils that go out from this head. So it's a crinoid head. Surprise. Tens, if not hundreds of millions of years. So I was just fascinated by this, thrilled. And I look back and I go, what's the root of that fascination? Why are we so drawn to such things? And I'd realized that in my little kids, I was in some very deep, unconscious way aware that myself and this crinoid were relatives, yes? We both sprang off the same wavy tree of life, right? Different times, but our roots go all the way back together. This is my relative. This is your relative, yes? This crinoid head was already inside of me when I met it, before I met it, yes? And so when we found each other, I was filled with holy awe. You to do the same thing, to admire your relative and recognize your affinity and relationship to it, and enter into this mystery, this awesome mystery of life on this planet. We're at a point in history, I should say natural history, which scientists are now referring to as the Holocene, the geological era in which humans dominate. Isn't that something? We have created our own geologic epoch. That's a big deal. Wow. Our human epoch on the planet. We did not plan this, did we? We didn't plan, someday we'll have a geological era. No, we didn't plan that at all, but here we are. We're there, for sure. Stuart Brand, anybody familiar with him? He futurist, a futurist of the past, as I like to say. Anyway, I've always admired him. He's up in Northern California. He's the guy who created the Whole Earth catalog back. Really amazing person. Futurist, visionary, and anyway, at one point he said, of humans. He says, we are as gods, and we might as well get good at it. We didn't plan to become gods, but here we are. Gods in the of having godlike powers over our world, over our planet. So it's time for us to get good at exercising this godlike power that we have, to do a better job of it, right? To own up to the reality of it and do better, yes? So let's be truly godlike and do all we can to gently reveal to those around us who question whether the earth needs protection, whether the climate needs protection, that to help them understand that to be conservative means to conserve. Yeah? You conserve the source of your wealth and riches and all that we enjoy on this earth. We have to conserve it so that we can do all else that we do. Let's be truly godlike and for what it takes. Do what it takes, not just words, but actions, political actions, and the messy business of politics in order to do what we can to clean up the messes that we have created in our environment. We cannot pray away climate change, but we can pray our way into love for the earth. It can motivate us to do what it takes to bring ourselves into harmony with nature. For God's sake, for the earth's sake, for our own sake, amen.